You think when your creatinine hits dangerous levels, dialysis is your only option? Wrong. In Japan, they have a 3-step protocol to pull toxins out of your body before they ever reach your kidneys. And step number 2 costs pennies a day. But 99% of nephrologists will never tell you this because it's not in their playbook. What if I told you there's a way to flush the toxins out of your system before you're forced onto that dialysis machine? Stay with me, because what I'm about to share could save you from that machine 3 times a week. Most nephrologists wait until your kidneys are at 10 to 15% function before they act. They watch the garbage pile up, they see your creatinine climb from 2 to 4 to 6, and they say wait. Just wait. Monitor it. Come back in 3 months. It's medical negligence disguised as standard protocol. I don't want you to wait. And that starts with understanding something called uremic toxins. These are poisons, indoxyl sulfate, picresyl sulfate, that your gut bacteria create from protein breakdown. They're supposed to be filtered out by your kidneys. But when your kidneys start failing, these toxins build up in your blood, and they become a death spiral. High toxins damage the kidneys more, which creates even higher toxins. So here's what we're going to do together, a 3-step protocol that's backed by solid science and has been used successfully in Japan for over 20 years, and the first step in this process is what I call the toxin magnet. In Japanese nephrology clinics, they use something called AST-120. It's an oral activated charcoal, but not the kind you buy at a health food store. This is medically engineered spherical carbon. You swallow it. It travels through your intestines. And here's the magic. It binds to uremic toxins before they even enter your bloodstream. It's like putting a catcher's mitt in your gut to trap the poison before it reaches your kidneys. Then you excrete it through your stool. A study in the Clinical Journal of the American Society of Nephrology, 2015, showed patients using AST-120 delayed dialysis by an average of 14 months. But here's the problem. AST-120 is hard to get in the US. It's not FDA approved yet. So what do? You use the alternatives that work almost as well. First, sodium bicarbonate. Baking soda. I'm talking about the same powder sitting in your kitchen cabinet. But listen closely, this is only for people with metabolic acidosis, which happens when your kidneys can't remove acid from your blood. Your blood becomes too acidic, and it literally eats away at your kidney tissue like battery acid on metal. If your lab work shows a CO2 or bicarbonate level below 22 milliequivalents per liter, you need to neutralize that acid immediately. The protocol is simple. Half a teaspoon of pure sodium bicarbonate in water, twice a day. This raises your blood pH, protects your kidney cells, and according to a 2020 study in the Journal of Renal Nutrition, it can slow CKD progression by up to 30%. Second, calcium carbonate. This one's for phosphorus control. When your kidneys fail, phosphorus builds up in your blood. High phosphorus doesn't just make you tired. It calcifies your arteries, hardens your heart valves, and accelerates kidney death. Your target is to keep phosphorus below 4.6 milligrams per deciliter. Calcium carbonate works like a sponge in your intestines. It binds to phosphorus from the food you eat and locks it down before it gets absorbed. You excrete it instead of poisoning yourself with it. Take 500 to 1,000 milligrams with every meal that contains protein or dairy. Now let me tell you about Harold. 68 years old. Retired postal worker. Creatinine was 3.8, eGFR at 18, and his nephrologist told him to prepare for dialysis within 6 months. Harold came to me desperate. We started him on the toxin reduction protocol. Sodium bicarbonate twice daily because his CO2 was 19. Calcium carbonate with meals because his phosphorus was 5.9. And a plant-based low-protein reset for 90 days to reduce the toxin load. 3 months later, his creatinine dropped to 2.9. His eGFR climbed to 28. He bought himself time. Real time. Time to see his granddaughter graduate. Time to travel. Time to live without being chained to a machine. This is not a miracle. This is biochemistry. This is what happens when you take control before your body reaches the breaking point, when you work with your kidneys instead of waiting for them to fail. Now we move to step 2, and this is where most people get it wrong. They focus on the kidneys, but they forget about the gut. Your intestines are not just for digestion. When your kidneys start failing, your gut becomes your second filtration system. And if you ignore it, you're leaving 40% of the toxin removal job undone. Here's what happens. When protein breaks down in your intestines, bacteria create ammonia and uremic toxins. Normally, your kidneys handle this. But when kidney function drops below 30%, those toxins flood your bloodstream. Your brain gets foggy. Your skin itches like fire. Your heart rhythm becomes unstable. This is uremia. This is what kills people before dialysis even starts. So what do the Japanese do? They turn the gut into a toxin elimination highway. And the tool they use is called lactulose. It's a prescription laxative, but it's not just about bowel movements. Lactulose feeds the good bacteria in your colon, and those bacteria literally consume ammonia. They eat the poison and convert it into harmless compounds that you excrete. A study in the Nephrology Dialysis Transplantation Journal, 2018, showed that CKD patients using lactulose reduced blood ammonia levels by 35% in just 6 weeks. That's life-changing. But here's the real star of gut detox, and it costs almost nothing. Psyllium Husk. The fiber powder you can buy at any pharmacy for under $10. Let me tell you about Linda. 62 years old. Retired nurse. She knew the medical system inside and out, and that made her fear even worse when her creatinine jumped from 2.1 to 3.4 in just 4 months. Her nephrologist told her she was on the fast track. Prepare your family, he said. Start thinking about access points for dialysis. Linda was terrified. She came to my clinic, and the first thing I noticed was her diet. High protein. Meat every meal. And her gut was backed up. Constipated for days at a time. I told her, Linda, if your kidneys can't filter, we need your intestines to pick up the slack. We started her on Psyllium Husk. 5 grams, twice a day, mixed in water, 15 minutes before meals. Here's how it works. Psyllium is soluble fiber. It travels through your intestines like a sponge, absorbing toxins, bile acids, and waste before they can be reabsorbed into your bloodstream. It binds to uremic toxins and pulls them out through your stool. It's like sweeping your gut clean twice a day. Within 2 weeks, Linda's brain fog lifted. Within 4 weeks, her creatinine started dropping. 3.4 down to 3.1. Then 2.9. Her skin stopped itching. Her energy came back. And 6 months later, she was stable at 2.6 with an eGFR of 25. She bought herself years. Not from a miracle drug. from a fiber powder that costs pennies per dose. The protocol is simple. 5 to 10 grams of psyllium husk, morning and evening, 15 to 30 minutes before your meal. Mix it in 8 ounces of water and drink it immediately before it thickens. Then drink another glass of water. You need the hydration to move it through your system. And within days, you'll feel the difference. Your bowel movements become regular. Your toxins get swept out. Your blood stays cleaner. But here's the hard truth. If you nail step 1 and step 2 but fail at step 3, everything falls apart. Because step 3 is the foundation. Low protein diet. And I know what you're thinking. Protein is essential. I need protein for my muscles, for my strength. And you're right. But here's what your doctor isn't telling you. Animal protein, meat, eggs, dairy, when it breaks down in your gut, it creates ammonia. Massive amounts of ammonia. And ammonia is toxic to kidneys. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire. Every steak you eat, every chicken breast, generates a flood of nitrogenous waste that your failing kidneys can't handle. A study in Kidney International, 2017, showed that reducing protein intake by just 30% decreased uremic toxin load by 50%. That's cutting your kidney workload in half. So what do? You shift to a plant-based diet. Beans, lentils, quinoa, nuts, seeds. These proteins break down differently. They produce less ammonia, less acid, and they come with fiber that helps your gut eliminate toxins. You're not starving yourself. You're feeding your body in a way that protects your kidneys instead of destroying them. I won't lie to you. This is the hardest step. Changing your diet means changing your life. It means saying no to the foods you grew up with. But if you want to stay off dialysis, if you want to keep your independence, this is non-negotiable. You can take all the supplements and medications in the world, but if you keep flooding your system with high-protein animal foods, you're fighting a losing battle. Now let's talk about what you need to avoid. Because if you're doing everything right but still eating the wrong foods, you're sabotaging your own kidneys. And the worst part? Most of these foods are sold as healthy. Your doctor might even recommend them. But for someone with kidney disease, they're silent killers. Enemy number 1. Grapefruit. It's in every health magazine. Packed with vitamin C, promotes weight loss, lowers cholesterol. Sounds perfect, right? Wrong. For anyone with kidney disease taking blood pressure medication, grapefruit is a death trap. Next on the bad list. Fruit juice and dried fruit. And I know what you're thinking. Fruit is natural. It's healthy. And yes, whole fruit in small amounts can be fine. But juice and dried fruit? They're sugar bombs wrapped in a potassium grenade. Fruit juice is concentrated sugar. When you juice an orange, you remove the fiber and you're left with pure fructose. Your liver has to process that fructose, and it creates inflammation, oxidative stress, and it damages the filtering units in your kidneys called glomeruli. A study in the Journal of the American Society of Nephrology, 2013, showed that high fructose intake accelerated kidney disease progression by increasing inflammatory markers and uric acid levels. And here's the terrifying part. 1 cup of orange juice contains the same amount of sugar as a can of soda. But people drink it thinking they're being healthy. You're not. You're flooding your kidneys with sugar that causes inflammation and speeds up the decline. Then there's dried fruit. Raisins, dried apricots, dates. They're tiny. They're convenient. And they're loaded with potassium. One small handful of raisins, just a quarter cup, contains over 300 milligrams of potassium. That's the same amount as eating an entire bunch of fresh grapes. But you don't realize it because they're so small. Next. Dairy products. Milk, cheese, yogurt. They're staples in most diets. High in calcium, good for bones, right? Not for kidney patients. Dairy is loaded with phosphorus. And here's the problem. The phosphorus in dairy is highly absorbable. Your intestines soak it up like a sponge. When your kidneys can't filter it out, phosphorus accumulates in your blood. High phosphorus doesn't just make you tired. It pulls calcium out of your bones, making them brittle. And it deposits that calcium into your arteries and heart valves. Your blood vessels literally turn to stone. A study in Kidney International, 2016, found that CKD patients with high phosphorus levels had a 50% increased risk of cardiovascular death. That's not a complication. That's a direct path to heart disease. Finally, vegetable oils. Canola oil, soybean oil, corn oil. They're in everything. Salad dressings, fried foods, processed snacks. And they're marketed as heart-healthy. But for kidney patients, they're inflammatory nightmares. These oils are calorie-dense, they promote weight gain, and they're loaded with omega-6 fatty acids that trigger systemic inflammation. That inflammation clogs the tiny blood vessels in your kidneys, reducing blood flow and accelerating damage. If you have kidney disease, these are the foods you need to eliminate. Not reduce. Eliminate. Now let's flip the script. Because I'm not here to take away all your joy. I'm here to give you the truth. And the truth is, there are foods you can eat. Foods you've been told to avoid that are actually safe. Some might even surprise you. First, coffee. Black coffee. I can't tell you how many patients come to me terrified that their morning coffee is killing their kidneys. They read somewhere that caffeine is bad for CKD. And they've been suffering through mornings without it. Let me set the record straight. Black coffee, not loaded with cream and sugar, just pure black coffee, is safe for most kidney patients. In fact, it might even be protective. A study in the American Journal of Kidney Diseases, 2021, followed over 14,000 people with kidney disease for 8 years. Those who drank 2 to 3 cups of black coffee daily had a 22% lower risk of kidney disease progression compared to non-coffee drinkers. Why? Coffee is rich in antioxidants and polyphenol that reduce inflammation and oxidative stress. The key is black. No sugar. No cream. And as long as it doesn't spike your blood pressure, you're good to go. Next surprise. Sparkling water. Carbonated water. I've had patients convinced that the bubbles would damage their kidneys. That's nonsense. Sparkling water is just water with carbon dioxide. It's not soda. There's no sugar, no phosphoric acid, no artificial sweeteners. It's a perfect replacement for people who crave something fizzy but want to stay healthy. If you miss soda, sparkling water with a squeeze of lemon or lime can satisfy that craving without poisoning your kidneys. Now let's talk vegetables and starches. And here's where people get confused because they've been told to avoid everything. Sweet potatoes. Purple potatoes. Yes, they have potassium. But unless your doctor has specifically told you that your blood potassium is dangerously high, these are better choices than white potatoes. They're loaded with fiber, antioxidants, and they don't spike your blood sugar as aggressively. Grits. Whole grain bread. You can eat these. The trick is how you prepare them. Plain grits with a little olive oil? Fine. Grits loaded with butter, cheese, and bacon? That's a kidney killer. Whole grain bread with avocado? Good. White bread slathered with cream cheese? No. So let's bring it all together, because if you remember nothing else from this video, I want you to remember what I call the golden triangle, 3 steps working in harmony that can save your kidneys before dialysis becomes your only option. The first step is to absorb the toxins before they damage your system, and that means using sodium bicarbonate when you're dealing with acidosis and calcium carbonate to control your phosphorus levels, because these compounds lock down the poisons in your gut before they ever have a chance to reach your bloodstream. You're not just treating symptoms here, you're stopping the damage at its source, and that's where real healing begins. The second step is to eliminate those toxins from your body, and this is where Psyllium Husk becomes your best friend. 5 to 10 grams twice a day that sweeps your intestines clean, pulls those uremic toxins out through your stool, and gives your kidneys the break they desperately need to start recovering. This is the step that most doctors never mention because it seems too simple and too inexpensive to be effective, but I'm telling you from years of clinical experience that it works. The third step, and this is the foundation that everything else builds on, is to stop creating toxins in the first place through a low-protein, plant-based way of eating. When you cut out the animal protein that floods your system with ammonia and switch to beans, lentils, and vegetables, you're not starving yourself or giving up nutrition, you're actually feeding your body in a way that protects your kidneys instead of poisoning them day after day. These 3 steps work together as a complete system, and if you miss even one of them, the whole approach falls apart, but when you do all 3 consistently, you give yourself a real fighting chance to slow down or even reverse the decline. Now I'm going to be completely honest with you because you deserve the truth. This isn't an easy path to walk, and changing your diet means changing your entire life in many ways. It means walking past the foods you grew up with, the comfort foods that remind you of family dinners and celebrations, and it means saying no when everyone around you is enjoying steak and cheese and all the things you've been told to avoid. But here's what I tell every single one of my patients when they're struggling with this transition. Don't let food control you, because you need to be the one controlling food. Food is fuel and medicine for your body, and right now, at this moment in your life, your kidneys need the right medicine more than they need temporary pleasure. So here's what I want you to do right now, today, before you close this video and move on with your day. Walk over to your medicine cabinet and check if you have Psyllium Husk sitting there, and if you don't, add it to your shopping list this very moment because this is not something you want to put off. Then open your refrigerator and look for grapefruit or grapefruit juice or any kind of fruit juice, and if you find them, I want you to understand that you need to get rid of them because they're not helping you, they're actively hurting your kidneys every single day you keep them around. Check your pantry for dried fruit, dairy products, and vegetable oils, and start making the swaps we talked about in this video. Replace soda with sparkling water, swap meat for beans, choose sweet potatoes instead of white potatoes, and make these changes one step at a time without overwhelming yourself. And here's what I really want to know from you, which of these 3 steps are you going to start with today? Are you going to tackle the toxin load first, focus on cleaning up your gut, or commit to switching your diet completely? Drop a comment below and share your current creatinine level with me so we can track your progress together over the next 30, 60, and 90 days, because you're not alone in this journey and we're building a community of people who refuse to accept dialysis as their inevitable future. Your kidneys are worth fighting for, and more importantly, you are worth fighting for, So go take that first step right now.